Hi, you've reached the High Fashion Hotline.
Hi, sweetie.
Dad? I told you not to call me at work.
But I need some style advice.
Just go to Old Navy.
Old Navy?
Yep, all men's styles are on sale now, up to 50% off, with shorts from $12, active from $8, and tees from $5 at Old Navy and OldNavy.com.
$5?
Plus, the whole store is up to 50% off, so you can get amazing styles for everyone, even me.
Going to Old Navy now.
Oh, and make sure you get something for Father's Day, my treat.
Thanks.
High Fashion, Old Navy. Valid 6/12 to 6/20. Excludes clearance, gift cards, register lane items, jewelry today and 2-day only deals.
Blog Talk Radio.
Horror enthusiasts and fans of things that go bump in the night, rejoice, as there is a new collection of creepy tales to keep your spine tingling and your blood running cold.
He's gonna kill me.
The brainchild of prolific author Yvonne Mason. Welcome to Your Nightmare is an anthology of stories from a gifted batch of writers specializing in keeping you up at night. Whether you love gruesome tales of murder and mayhem, or you prefer quaint tales of scary happenings, welcome to Your Nightmare is sure to please the inner psychopath and whet even the most insatiable horror appetite. Welcome to Your Nightmare is available now on Amazon.com.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a Wednesday night. I am your host, Yvonne Mason, and this is another week of Off the Chain. And those of you all that have been with me since the beginning know that I like doing pieces of shameless promotion. I can't help it. That was Welcome to Your Nightmare, which is an anthology of short stories that a group of friends and I did a couple of years ago. Its sister book is Satan's Holiday. And in both of those books, the one and only Nicholas Grabowski, who also owns Black Bed Sheets Publishing House, has a story. So if you know Nicholas, like Nicholas, or have a book published by Nicholas, or want a book published by Nicholas, you need to get Welcome to Your Nightmare and Satan's Holiday. There's also stories in there from people that have never been published before. I kind of like to give young authors and new authors a chance to not to be afraid to stick their toe in this literary water of uncertainty, because if you don't try, then you fail. If you try, you succeed. So get Welcome to Your Nightmare, Scare Yourself to Death, and also get sister book, Satan's Holiday. Now, ladies and gentlemen, next month this show will be a year old. On the 27th, it will be a year old. My goal when I started this journey was to give a voice to artists, authors, painters, musicians, business people, people with a platform, simply because I think that everyone is worthwhile. This show has grown its own legs thanks to all of you, my listeners, and to all of my guests. And as of this morning, just on this show, just on Off the Chain on Blog Talk Radio, we're at 8,779 listeners. We're well over 20,000 when you include all of the podcasts that go along with it. I couldn't have done it without my guests, couldn't have done it without my listeners, certainly could not have done it without listeners and guests combined, because you all are the reason I do this. I'm just the facilitator. And my guests come back over and over again. I don't know if they're into self-inflicted pain or they just, I don't know, they like me, who knows. But they come back because it's interesting, to say the least. So tonight, without further ado, I'm bringing back a guest that has been on several times, and he will tell you himself he is very pretty. That is his trademark. And as authors, as musicians, as artists, as business people, our product is not our trademark. Our brand is ourselves. Well, in this guest instance, his brand is he is pretty. Those that know him, we tease him about it all the time, and he loves it. He tells us he's pretty over and over again. So let's welcome author Frank Bittinger. And over the centuries, he has experienced many existences. And in this incarnation, he is a vegan who lives and writes in historic Western Maryland, where he shares his home with a menagerie of pets, several alternate personalities, and the occasional ghost. One of his favorite pastimes is walking in old cemeteries in the evening. This is just one of the many reasons I love this man, because that is one of my favorite pastimes, too. I love walking in cemeteries in the evenings because it's quiet, it's still, and if you listen, you will hear things and maybe even see a thing or two. So without further ado, it's about time you came back on this show. How are you, Frank?
Well, it's your own damn fault, Deborah Finkelstein. You don't schedule me close enough. You schedule me too far apart.
I know. It's been a minute.
I'm happy to be back. And I did completely 100% forget. So I'm glad you tagged my book page earlier today.
Well, you know, that's one of the ways that I remind my guests. Well, I also put it up at the first of the week, everybody was going to be on, but I tag everybody because we get busy in our lives and we do forget and things get in the way and things happen. So this is what I tell all of the people that want to be guests on the show. You've got to, one of the requirements is you have to be my friend on Facebook so I can tag you when I put up the show so you can help promote it and to remind you.
Well, it was good you did, because I was looking in the mirror thinking how exceptionally attractive I looked today, and I got your message that you had tagged me in something, and I couldn't do it on my phone. And my internet was off for 3 days because I had an issue. And I just got it back on, and my phone wouldn't let me see what you had tagged me in all day. So I had no idea what you had tagged me in. It was literally when I sent you that comment, that's literally like less than an hour or something before the show started. I'm like, well, shit, I'm glad you reminded me. I literally forgot. I really seriously did. And there's no offense to you. I forgot.
Well, you're a busy man. I mean, you work 2 jobs. You take care of your mini zoo, and in your spare time you write and talk to ghosts. I mean, who has time for a radio show?
It's really sad. I forget everything. I literally write stuff down, forget it, and write another one the exact same way. It's sad. It's very, very sad. But, you know, what do you do? You
have people like me that remind you and stay on top of things for you. But here lately, I'm either going to have to get a personal assistant or a keeper, because this radio show is getting so big, Frank. I kid you not.
Good.
We are booked. We are booked to the end of December.
Good. I told you I want you to find me a nice little country that loves me and buys my books so I can go over there and sign books and eventually buy a house. And I told you that's my goal. So, you know, I would like Scotland, maybe Denmark. I like, you know, Scotland would be really, really good.
Well,
or
we
Wales.
do have listeners.
Wales is gorgeous.
We have listeners in Wales. We have listeners in Scotland. We also have listeners in Norway.
You know, so yeah, I love the Scandinavian countries. One of those would be good too. So find me a nice little country that loves me and buys all my books so I can be a big star there, and I'll be very, very happy.
Well, but you couldn't take your menagerie, could you?
Well, I wouldn't live there full time. I'd go over for a while and then I'd come back. No, I wouldn't ship the cats and the birds and the fish and everything else that lives here. No, I'd leave them here where they know home.
Then you'd have to pay somebody to look after them.
Well, that'd be all right. I would never leave them for long. I would never leave them for more than like a week at a time.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
I couldn't do that. They're so used to seeing me.
And you're so good with them, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not an animal lover, you cannot possibly understand what Frank and I are talking about. All of my children are grown, and all of the grandchildren are grown, and the great-grandchildren we never see. So our Maltese is like our baby, just like Frank's cats and birds and fish are like his children. We get attached to them.
And mine are all rescues, which you know that. So when you have a rescue, especially the macaws, which are very, very human smart, you work with them for hours a day, and you become very, very attached with them. Like the one cockatoo I had with me for almost 17 years, and I worked with. She's been gone. December this year will be 2 years, and I look for her still. First thing in the morning, and I go down to cover her up, last thing at night before I go to bed. Still look for her, and she's been gone almost 2 years. I mean, so when you work with them constantly, day in, day out, for hours at a time, like when I get off from work and I come home, I don't go anywhere because they know I'm coming at a specific time. They're on schedule. They know I'm going to be home around this time. They know they're going to get out. They know they're going to get treats. They're going to get played with. They're going to get to do all these things, and they wait for that. So that's why I never go anywhere where I stay away for more than 2 days and one night. I will not stay away more than one night from them.
But because they know they are dependent on you for their care, their food, everything. And
for the birds being that smart and being neglected and what have you, birds, but especially the big birds, because they call them macaws like the one-person parrot, because they get attached to that person, and that's it. And it's like your husband dying when they get separated. And it takes a long process for them to get attached to somebody else. And so if I were to move someplace like if Scotland were to love me and I would go over there to spend a lot of time, I would take them with me. It's a bunch of red tape, but yes, you can take animals with you to live. And you would in a heartbeat if you permanently move. Be away from them. No, they would have to know. Absolutely. What else have you been doing besides working and taking care of the critters? That's all. That's all I do. I'm a slave to these animals. I work to be able to. I literally tell them, "Daddy's got to go to work. I got to make money to pay for you." That's what I tell them. So that's literally what it is. I go to work to make money to pay for them. But it's all worth it in the end. It's sad. I could probably have a big old house, mansion, bigger than what I got now, but I'd rather have the animals. It's all good. Well, and their company. Oh, absolutely. And on some days, I'd rather have my animals than people. Oh, and the cats are all off the street. One is actually adopted from a shelter, but the others are off the street. And one's from a shelter. 2 are from the vet that were strays, and the rest are literally, off the street. All my cats were off the street. They would come here. I have 2 outside orange cats, both males. I've had them neutered. They don't want to stay in the house. They're very, very friendly, and they don't leave my little backyard. There's a sign somewhere, someone told me, that says this way, and that's how I got here. And ladies and gentlemen, all of Frank's book sales, all of his books are dedicated to his animals, and then he uses the royalties from his book sales to help animals that have been rescued. Is that a true statement? That is true. It all goes. I dedicate the books to animals I've known. All the money made from the books, I wrote a Christmas canticle, specifically my version of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, specifically to raise money for animal rescue. When I did book signings, because don't take this the wrong way, I don't do book signings anymore. It's too hard to get brick and mortar bookstores, you know what I mean? They're closing left and right. But when I did do book signings, I only did them if there was a charity event associated with them, and 85%, 90% of the time it was an animal charity. Every year for my birthday, except for this year. This year, I finally got taken out of town by a friend of mine who took me to a book signing for somebody I've wanted to see for years. But for I would say the last good almost 20 years, every year on my birthday I had an event that would raise money for a local shelter or a local sanctuary. Or oh yeah, I'm big on the animals. I'm completely vegan. I don't use anything that comes from an animal, was rubbed on an animal, anything like that. I can't do it. Because I couldn't eat it because I don't care what animal it is. I see an animal and I rescue animals and I take care of animals, and I can't do that.
Each to his own. But,
so
and
that's my whole reason
because,
behind it.
Yeah, because you're true to yourself and you're true to your causes. And how many of us can say, yeah, I have this cause, but the bottom line is we only go so far with it and then we stop.
Oh, I'm the guy. If I tell you, then it might as well be a legal binding contract, because what I tell you is what's going to happen. I'm not going to tell you if I'm not going to follow through with it. If I'm going to pick you up to take you to work, you can count 100% unless I'm dead or in a car wreck. I will be there to take you to work. If I tell you I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Just rest assured I'm going to. My word is my bond. I was raised to be that way. I don't believe in this crap about, yeah, I'll do that, or let's go do that, and you don't do that. But then again, I was always around older people. And see, by the same token of that, if you call me up and hey, Frank, do you want to go do this? No, thanks, but thanks for thinking of me. Don't ever go, why? Well, why not? Oh, come on, don't you? Because if I call you and, Yvonne, do you want to go? No, I can't. Okay, I'll talk to you later. I'm an adult. You're an adult. I don't have to explain to you why. I said thank you, but no thank you. Thanks for thinking of me.
And that segues into something I read on your blog, which I don't know how I have missed it all this time. And that
God only knows what's on that blog.
Well, you grew up around older people, and ladies and gentlemen, when we're talking about older people, we're talking about grandparents, great-grandparents, and aunts and uncles that were raised in the old ways.
Yeah, to this day, I do not know who are legally blood related to me and who are not, because on both sides of my family's back, and the grandparents and the great-grandparents, they just absorbed people.
So there you go.
So we got this huge family, and half of us aren't even legally or blood related. But hey, there you go.
But it doesn't matter. You're still family.
Oh, exactly.
It's the clan.
Exactly.
It's the clan.
Exactly.
But anyway, on your blog, I read this interesting story. And ladies and gentlemen, remember in the introduction I said that he talks to the occasional ghost? Well, I'm going to get Frank to tell you this story because nobody believed that this happened to him until later. And I'm talking about the key in the well.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell that story.
Because what they don't tell you in that article, and some of the things got lost in translation, which you know yourself being an interviewer, we're all human. Everything, there's an error in anything, nothing's perfect, so there were a couple nitpick things that weren't quite right, but that's okay. What they didn't mention in this article, this is my paternal grandmother. This is my dad's mom. And she is the woman who, like we've discussed before, I don't know too much about the Brethren religion from 60 years ago or what have you, but my grandparents on both sides were of that religion, but separate churches. Neither one of them and everybody else who would go to these churches did not have pictures hanging up of the family. So I don't know if that kind of went like, is it the Puritans, like the graven image thing?
It's either the Puritans or the Quakers.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? I think that might have been like a part of teachings back then, but neither side had pictures up of family members. What that article did not tell you, she's the grandmother who, when I would spend time with her, first of all, my grandfather died 6 months almost to the day after I was born. After he held me the first time, he died. I was named for him for years up until I was right before I went to school. So I was probably 3, 4. I would talk about the white-haired man. I'd see him in the house. I'd see him outside. The white-haired man, the white-haired man. And she had my dad one night get the photo album, and she says, "Is he in here?" It was my grandfather I was seeing after he died all those years. But this is the grandmother in the article who, when I would spend time with her, she would get out the photo albums. Like I said, they didn't have pictures up on the walls, but they had these big, thick photo albums. And she would sit me down beside of her, open the photo album, and she would point to pictures. Who is that? And I would name these people. And these are people I never met who probably died 30, 40, 50, 60 years before I was ever even born. And she would say, "That's right. That's right. Who's this?" And I would tell her, "That's right," she'd say. And that was a little game we used to play. Well, I was my senior year in high school, and I can't remember, because it's been a minute, I can't remember what period of the day I was in. I'm trying to think, but I can't remember. But I turned to my friend who was sitting beside me, and I told her, "My grandmother died." And she just looked at me, and she's like, "That's awful. Don't say that." And I'm thinking to myself, I'm serious. And I get home, and my mom has met me at the door, and she says, "Ma'am has passed away. Ma'am died." And so I did not live with my parents at this point. My parents had moved in with my grandmother, with my little sister, because we were the only two left at home. My parents and little sister moved in with my grandmother because her health had been going downhill. We lived right beside of each other, and to take care of her. So I lived by myself next door. And at that point, they said, "Well, you're going to move in here. You can have her room," which is off the kitchen. And so I moved in rather quickly because my brother, who was the oldest sibling, and his family were going to come and live beside of us then. Am I convoluting this? Are you following this so far?
No, I'm right there with you.
Okay. So I move in, and this was early spring. Well, I remember it being like a Saturday, and it was early afternoon. I am laying on the bed in my bedroom. My mom and dad and sister have gone to the market, so I am home alone. And something walks past the doorway. And from my bed out the door is the kitchen window. So that's how I noticed, because the light was being, skewed. And I look up, and there in the doorway stands my grandmother. And she takes her right hand, palm down, and she rubs the wall to the right of the door. And she's gone. This occurred, I didn't say anything, but this occurred several times. I did not tell my mom and dad. We were not discouraged from talking about anything like this, but we were not encouraged. You know what I mean? We were never told that's not real, but we were also never told that exists. So it was a number of years, because I was in college when I first told them. So it was probably 2 years. I had seen her, and they did not believe me. They did not believe me, but they didn't not believe. You know what I mean? They just
Right.
said, "Oh, you're probably, seeing stuff." And I told them she keeps rubbing down the side of the wall. Well, instead of her just rubbing down the side of the wall, that wall would start to get damp, and then it evolved into that wall would actually have a thin coating of water coming down it. And my dad would go up into the attic, and he would look around. He says, "I just don't understand this. There are no pipes going down in that wall. It's completely opposite the bathroom. The sink of the kitchen is clear on the other side. There's no pipes for water near. There's no leak in the roof. There's no leaks upstairs, no water damage, no nothing. I just don't know what's going on." And I kept saying, it has started to evolve to where I would tell them, she's got something in the wall she wants me to find, to Finally, I knew what it was, and there's a key in the wall. She wants me to open this wall. There's a key in the wall. She actually said she had never told me what the key was to. I can just see the key is to like a little wood box. Excuse me. And she never told me what was in the box. Rumor going around my family for many, many decades, until the older generation started to fall off, die off. You'll find a few cousins who've heard the story. My paternal grandfather, way back in the war, bought war bonds from the government. Is allegedly what the story is. And once the whole story got uncovered, people were like, that's what that is, but we're not there yet. So my parents would never let me open the wall. And I ended up moving out. My brother and his family moved out next door to down the road into a house. So I moved back into the older house until like 1997. In 1997, I moved several miles away to where I live now, in another town. But after I moved out of the house, my little sister, my younger sister, she took my bedroom, which was my grandmother's bedroom. Now, she never said this until years later. She also saw her, but she never like rubbed the wall. She never did any of that for her. She didn't know it was actually my grandmother, if I'm recalling her portion of the story correctly. She just kept seeing like this figure walk by. After I moved to where I live now, it didn't go but like 6-8 months, and I always took care of my parents, and my mom and dad came to the decision, especially in the wintertime, they don't want me driving up the mountain to have to come check on them on a daily basis. So they're going to go ahead and let my brother and his family have the house, and they're going to move down here to where I am to be closer to me so I can take care of them. So after all this has transpired, I'm not thinking about these visits from my grandmother. I get a call from my mom out of blue, and she says, my brother just called her. He saw my grandmother do the exact same thing she did for me to rub the wall. He knocked a hole in the wall, which I was never allowed to do. And he says, Mom, you'll never guess what I found. There's a key hanging on a nail in the wall. My mom called to tell me this. I said, see, I told you and you never believed me. And she says, it's not I didn't believe you. She was very close to my grandmother. And my grandmother always referred to her as another one of her daughters. And she never referred to any of the other in-law wives that way. And my mom said to me, it's not that I didn't believe you. I just thought if she was in that house, she'd show herself to me, because there were times when my mom was alone after I admitted to seeing my grandmother, she would say to her, okay, I'm here alone. If you're really here, show yourself. Come to me so I know you're really here. And she never did. But see, I had that story validated by 2 of my siblings. And people tell me constantly, because my brother lost the key. He put it up in a cabinet, and he doesn't know what happened to it. And I said, I'm pretty sure the old wood box was on a ledge down in the old well. But, my God, when was World War II? Do you honestly think a wood box in water with paper documents in it has not long rotted away? I mean, let's be honest here. What
Stranger
good is
things
it,
have happened.
80 years later for me to try to go down in there and look for I'm not going to do that. I still own the property, but there's nothing in there now. And we don't, even know if it was, but I just thought it was a cool story, and to have it validated by different people who didn't really know the story. Yeah, it was really cool, and I got interviewed for that.
And she was trying to tell you something. Something was very important to her.
Yes, and she would be the one. I would be the one she would want to tell it to, because I was the one she sat with, naming off the dead people from the pictures I didn't know.
Exactly. And you would have understood what she was saying.
Yeah. And we did that unbeknownst to my family. And the most hysterical, funny thing is, my other grandmother on my mom's side used to do shit like that with me when I was with her by ourselves. And it was like, our secret, don't tell anybody. So I think it's funny, these two women who really didn't have contact with each other were like doing, see, they're the ones separately who have both told me the same story about, and my mom has told me, of course, too, about me being the breech birth where I came out like butt first and got stuck and I had the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck and I was severed and I had to be resuscitated and all that. So I'm sure there's truth to these stories.
I have no doubt there's truth to those stories.
But I just think it was so funny. And I saw my grandfather I have another story that involved him, actually. I was living next door and it was wintertime. And I didn't have electric heat. All I had was a wood stove. And we had one hell of a blizzard, one hell of a snow. You weren't getting out to go anywhere. And I was out of wood. And I saw him walk past the front of my house. And I went out, and there was like this little stack of wood. And I put it in the stove. And nobody's going to believe this story. And there's not a blessed thing I can do to change their mind, but it's the honest to God truth. That would burn for almost 4 days.
Wow.
Without me putting any more in until we were able to get out to go to the sawmill to go get more wood. Oh, yeah. This stuff is not strange to me. I grew up with all this. It's not odd to me. Most people will say to get a reaction, hey, I saw something standing over there. I don't blink an eye. I believe you. Why would you lie to me? I grew up with this stuff. I know this stuff's real.
Exactly. And people that grew up with it and understand it, it's not odd for them.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm so shocked you didn't know about that interview. I write about that a little bit in my True Life Ghost Story book I've been working on for a few years.
I missed that little nugget, but I thought, no, I'll get that little nugget tonight. See, it was meant for me to miss that nugget up until now. Maybe Grandma kept it hidden from me. Things happen. Who knows?
Oh,
maybe Grandma knew we needed to talk about it.
Hey, you never know. I just would have liked to have had the key. I would have liked to have had the key. I don't care what was in the box. I would have liked to have had the key.
Yeah, because she wanted you to have it.
Yeah, and there's no way to get it. It's gone. He doesn't even know what happened to it, whether it fell down behind the cabinet. There's no way to find it now. But it wasn't a big, I never saw it, so I don't know. But it was described to me by my mom and by him both. It was a skeleton key, but it was not like big that you knew it was for a door.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I assumed it was for a little lockbox, a little wood lockbox.
That key's going to pop back up.
I wouldn't doubt it. I would like to have it, though. But, yeah, it's just very, very odd. I've had so many odd, ghostly, absolutely things happen to my life. I don't even, yeah.
It's just a matter of course. It's just one of those things you either accept it when it happens or you try to explain it away or you ignore it. I choose to accept it.
I do too, but I don't play with it. Like, I don't try to do it I don't know how you can do it on call, but I'm sure it's just like any kind of skill. You practice and you can do, whatever. Am I infallible with it? No. Because it's very hard. Okay, I don't know if the dead can speak. I don't know if they physically can speak to you because none of them have ever spoken with their lips moving. You hear it in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's like they're talking over noise, over interference from a long distance away, over a bad phone line. So I'm in no by any means infallible. I make a lot of mistakes because I hear incorrectly. I mean, she might have had more things to tell me, and I just couldn't hear it.
And it could be that maybe at that time your reception of it wasn't as keen as it should have been.
That's true too. That's true. And I've never tried to do it for money. I don't believe in that. I think that's just. I wouldn't want to piss off any kind of spirit because they can touch you. I love these people who are like, they can't touch you, they can't hurt you, bitch. You don't know what you're talking about because they can touch you. They can move shit. If they can touch you, they can move shit. They can hurt you. Don't piss them off.
Well, and why would one want to? Because they show up when they want. They show up when there's a need. They just don't show up willy-nilly.
I believe in mediums. I believe in all this stuff, but I don't understand how one can be infallible. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of fraud out there. You know what I mean?
Of course there is. Now, I'm going to change gears real quick because I found something else interesting that you wrote.
Oh.
And you quoted L. Ron Hubbard. And what caught my attention is this is something that I say at the end or just about at the end of every show. And it was an interview you did, and you were talking about writing as an art form and why writing is an art form. And you quoted L. Ron Hubbard, who said, and I quote, "The artist injects the spirit of life into a culture. A culture is only as great as its dreams, and its dreams are dreamed by artists."
I quote L. Ron Hubbard quite a bit. Absolutely. I firmly believe that. I've always believed that. When I saw it as a quote, it struck home. Absolutely, positively, 100%. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. I say that a lot.
And
that's actually one of the taglines on my email. Yes.
And the reason that you and I both agree to this is because if we did not have dreamers, our culture and our society would not be what it is today. We would not have had people go to the moon. We wouldn't have the internet. We wouldn't have automobiles. We probably wouldn't even have indoor plumbing.
That's true. Everything starts out as a dream. If you take care with your craft, everything is art. You know, I mean, absolutely.
And that is true. This is something else people don't understand, that everything starts off as a dream, then becomes art. Even indoor plumbing is an art form.
Oh, absolutely.
Electricity is an art form. And
yeah, speaking of electricity, I'm a big Nikola Tesla fan, too. I'm a big Tesla fan because Tesla was one of the rare true geniuses who was a humanitarian who didn't want to profit from anything. He wanted to give it away to mankind. And that's what I want to be. I don't want to profit from anything. I want to give it all away.
And the more you give away, the more you get in return.
You know, so I mean, I follow the examples of these as the ones I perceive who are great humanitarians: L. Ron Hubbard, Nikola Tesla, many people who are just absolutely humanitarian, and I try to emulate that. Doesn't mean I'm not a dickhead some days, because we all have our bad days.
Well, but we all have bad days. So let's talk about writing being an art form. And we could go all the way back to some of our favorite cultures, and that being the Egyptians.
Everyone has writing, even though they didn't have a written language. They had their oral stories. And no matter, I mean, they had their educational stories, sure, but not every story they told orally or written was like a fable, like the moral to the story. Not everything has, like I say to you today, not every movie has to have education purposes. It can be strictly entertainment. You don't have to learn a damn thing. Absolutely. They didn't even need written language, and they had, you know, because it was like, what was it? Thoth was supposed to have brought writing and science and religion to ancient Egypt from, he came from the northwest in the sea. or came up from, and it's suspected he was a remnant of Atlantis. But oh yeah, stories, writing is an art form. If you look at it, before we had printing, even writing was more of an art form, because the words, the writing, they had to practice so that it was legible, so that it was beautiful. And it was an art form unto itself, so it was an art form inside an art form. And then, of course, in order to have a book, you had to make a book. So there's another art form. You know, they just didn't print them out and have them put together. It was all made by hand.
And some of those books, some of the early books, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at them, if you're fortunate enough to get your hands on them, they were literally sewn together with heavy-duty cord because they didn't glue them. They sewed them together. And before that, they were written on papyrus and on slates.
Oh, absolutely. On stone, a chisel, on walls, on stellar. Which I don't know if you say it's Stella or Steely, because I've heard archaeologists pronounce it both ways, so I don't care. Say Stella or Steely. Those are the obelisks, the pointed needle things in Egypt.
Yes.
Like Cleopatra's needle. The obelisk is a Steely. Yeah.
And what was so beautiful about the Egyptians is their written word was pictures. It was hieroglyphics. And each picture represented something or something else depending on the context of the sentence.
Correct. And it wasn't just a word, it was a whole concept. Yes. Which is what made deciphering them so difficult.
Yes, because it could have meant anything.
Absolutely.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I tell y'all this at the end of every show. The world is made up of dreamers. Without dreamers, we would not have any society at all, whether the current society or the societies that we have evolved from. And yes, we evolved because with each generation, the dreamers get more and more adept at bigger dreams. Would that be a fair statement, Frank?
Oh, absolutely. Because if you write about, look at, there's TV shows now about the science of Star Trek. But it goes even further back than that. If you look at the writings, the original sci-fis of Jules Verne and people like that, writers come up with these concepts to further a story. Someone reads it and then says, I bet I can make that. You know,
and
so,
voila.
I mean, it all starts absolutely somewhere. Absolutely somewhere. And it can come from any weird little source. Absolutely. It's like I was talking with my friend Chris, who's down in Florida taking some classes now. And she wants to do an interview with me for her website because she's got over 10,000 followers now. And she said to me, this has no bearing on anything we've talked about, except like earlier you had said something about with the well story. It's something you didn't know about me, and it struck a chord. It resonated because she said you're such a weirdo, but you're fun, and that's going to be so hard to have come across in a written interview. And I said, well, I understand that completely. And she says, tell me something to hook them, engage them early on, but something most people don't know about you. And I started laughing, and I said, do you think it would hook them a little bit to know that sometimes I work in funeral homes or mortuaries doing the hair and makeup of corpses? And she says, how many years have I known you? And I never knew that. I said, well, it's not something I go broadcasting. I said, you wanted a little-known fact.
And there it is.
Now she's going to be mad because you got it before she did. But isn't that a cool? And I bring it up because I was sitting here thinking about it, and I thought, that's actually a pretty cool fact.
It is a cool fact because not everybody can do that. Even in the occupation that you have, not every cosmetologist or hairstylist could do that because it would seem morbid to them. To me,
for Christ's sake, they're embalmed. They're sterilized. It's not like you're going to touch anything, or they're going to reach up and smack you.
And it seems calming to me because a complete stranger cared to make my loved one, even though they're not there anymore, cared enough to make their shell look presentable for a final goodbye.
I guess people don't have intestinal fortitude anymore because every time I go to someplace new, I'll be asked, now, do you need someone to be back here with you while you do this? Well, no, why? What do you think they're going to do to me? Because and we were talking earlier, and I said about I had this little tiny slim volume of early short stories I wanted to publish. That's where I got the idea for this. I was working with a dearly departed client one afternoon, and we were discussing this idea because I like to have. It was mostly a one-sided conversation, if you can understand that, because she was dead.
Do.
But I was telling her I like writing. I like reading people's short stories, and I am a big Brian Lumley fan, who's a British writer. And he's got a vampire series, but where they're aliens, and he has all these short stories he's written years ago, and he had put them out in these books. And I was telling her this, and I was telling her someone else had just released some short stories, and I thought, I should do that. I never wrote my short stories for anyone to read, but I told her, I said, I think I should do that. And I think she agreed because she didn't say otherwise. And I came home, I was telling her, I have all these, this story could go in, and this, because I'm not editing them very much. I'm not going to try to rewrite them to make me sound like, they are what they are. I'll fix mistakes, but I'm not going to try to, they are what they are. They're the first things I ever wrote. And when I got finished with her, I came home and I started working on it right away. But that's where that whole story came from, is
I think that's
working
neat.
on a dearly departed client, and now we're going to have some short stories. I've had people tell me before, I need to have cameras follow me around because I would make a hell of a good reality show.
Well, yeah, we could do an entire reality show on you. Because your life, people would say, oh, well, he just works 2 jobs. No, ladies and gentlemen, he doesn't just work 2 jobs. He artistically creates within those 2 jobs.
I have bizarre shit happen to me, and no one would believe it, but it's true.
So in the time we have remaining, you have to tell the folks the books that are out there and how they can find them and a little bit of what they're about.
Well, my first 3 books are part of a Scarabee mythology, and that comprises Into the Mirror Black, which is a haunted house book, Angels of the Seventh Dawn, which has like magic and murder and like paranormal creatures in it. And then there's Angels of the Morning Light, which is a different kind of ghostly story, but not like a ghost story per se. And then I have A Christmas Canticle, which is my version of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And my Raven House, which was, top 10 or something like that on Amazon's top bestsellers for a long time. And you can find me on Amazon.com. And the new collection hopefully will be out in spring. It's called By Gaslight, if all goes well. These go with the Scarabee because I wrote them as I was creating that world. So if you've read those books, you might get some answers. You might get some insight. You just might be able to look through a window into that world and get a bigger view of what's going on.
And ladies and gentlemen, I have read The Raven House.
Have you really?
I have. It's on my Kindle. I highly recommend it because it is a...
Weird, isn't it?
It's a psycho thriller mystery. Strange. It delves into the psychic of one man and his humanity, his greatest fears, and his insecurities?
I like it because people will tell me it was different, and I don't know how it was different, and I wasn't sure I liked it. And then they got to the author's note at the end, which I should have put at the beginning because it helped people understand better why it was written the way it was written. It's my nod, one of my favorite books in the whole wide world, other than Rosemary's Baby, because I'm 100% obsessed with Rosemary's Baby. One of my favorite movies and books, one of my favorite books in the world is Haunted by James Herbert. I love British ghost stories, English ghost stories. And Raven House is my Americanized nod to British ghost stories, if that makes any sense.
It does.
I should have wrote that at the beginning, because once people read that, then they get it.
Mhm. Because British ghost stories have a different
Are
vibe
different.
to them. They're more subtle.
Yeah, they really are. And that was one of the criticizing things that were said about me in Raven House was it was not scary because nothing happened, and I'm like, yeah, it did, but it was all Woman in Black type stuff. It was all haunted type stuff. I don't know about you, but if I saw something carved in a cross formation that said never forgive, never forget, that would creep me the fuck out. I mean, a little bit, wouldn't you?
I'd be a little bit, what? Who's not forgiving and who's not forgetting? Okay, who's next? And it was the subtlety of the story that
Thank you.
keeps people's interest, because you know there's something around the corner, but it doesn't jump out at you. You've got to go hunt for it and be open to it.
You know what I one of my favorite things is at the very beginning when they're walking through the rundown house, they find the rundown piano, and then throughout the story, the piano's gone because it was broken down, but they can hear the piano playing. I love that part because that happens in my house, and that's a true life thing.
And things happen around here too that I'm going, okay. And my little Maltese sees ghosts too.
Oh, animals do, absolutely, because they see on it. I'm going to say it wrong, but you're going to know what I mean. Is it like the infrared thing? Like they have a wider spectrum than we do?
Yeah, and they're more
that's why they can see.
Yeah, and
it's
they're
just
more
like their
tuned.
Ears.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They're more
if
tuned
they're
to
hearing,
things around.
if they hear things, yes. If they hear outside of if they can hear above and below our hearing range, why could they not see above and below our seeing range?
And their mind is not clouded with "there's no such thing."
Absolutely, 100%. Correct.
Now we are going to run out of time, as we normally do.
Run out of time.
I know. So tell the folks where you can be found, and then you got to keep me up to speed. You got to keep me up to speed because I want to launch your books on this show next year.
Okay, I'll let you know. And if it comes sooner, I will let you know sooner, and maybe you can squeeze me in, because it's just going to be a slim little volume, maybe 60,000 words, maybe 200 pages. No big whoop, no big deal. I just, have these little stories, and people are constantly, because I have not finished the Scarabee saga yet. I have book 4 written. Book 5 is going to be done, but I want to get these short stories out because I'm cross your legs hoping to have 3 little volumes of them. And I think before the final 2 books come out, or even just the final book, I'd like to have these short stories out so you can get a better feel of the odd. Because I don't write horror. My first books were listed under horror because there wasn't any other choice, if that makes any sense. But I don't say I write horror. I say I write strange, dark tales because I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, and you're trying to make people think. Yeah. So now tell the folks where you can be found.
You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Amazon.com. Buy books for me, please and thank you. I love you, Scotland. I love you, Wales. buy lots of books so I can come over and visit. I would like to have a street named after me in Scotland or Wales. And I have a website, frankiebittinger.com, but I don't go there very much, to be 100% honest with you. I try to write blogs, but I'm not very good at doing it regularly.
Well, you need to put some more little nuggets on there, because that's where I found the little nuggets that I found tonight. And see, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who've not been with me since the beginning of this show, before I moved to Florida, my profession is a bounty hunter. So I find people and I find things about people. That is what I do, and I'm very good at it. So even though Frank and I have had 3 different shows together, I'm always finding these little nuggets about him that pop up when they're supposed to. And this is what happens with all of my guests. No,
I'm just
you're
eccentric.
a cool
I'm a little odd. I'm weird.
No, you're not
okay.
odd. You're odd.
Okay, I'm
you're
pretty.
not
It's
odd.
all look good. I am.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. So now we need to get me a little studio to make a movie out of Into the Mirror Black or Raven House. So you need to work on that.
Okay. We will put it out there, and we'll put it out there into the atmosphere. Tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen, at 8:00 Eastern Daylight Time, I'll be glad when we'll go back to Standard Time. We have a new guest. Her name is Nancy Quinn. And on Friday night, we have another new guest. Her name is Debbie DeLuise. And then Saturday night, we have a third new guest. Her name is Jane Jordan. All of these women are authors. I cannot wait to interview them, because they're going to be so exciting to talk to and find out about them and pull out all the little nuggets. I mean, they've got some very interesting things that have happened in their lives. And if you want to be on the show, if you're an author, a musician, an artist, own a business, have a platform, or just want to chat for an hour, you can reach me at offthechainradio@yahoo.com. And ladies and gentlemen, we are booked up through the end of December. That's how far ahead people want to come on this show, because it's a fun show.
So what are you saying? I'm not going to be able to get back in until January?
Well, we'll see. Maybe somebody cancels. But you're not even going to be ready until January. Listen
well, you
to
never
it.
know.
Uh-huh.
You never know. Sometimes the universe comes back around real quick and tells me I'm ready now. You know, it all depends. I'm a big sign seer. I'm a big omen harbinger person, portent person.
We'll find a place for you, my friend. You know I always find a place for you. You're so much fun.
I know you do. You might have to do a second hour some night if I get a book and some artwork and shit together.
There you go.
Oh, I know I was going to tell you. You interviewed a cozy mystery writer a while back.
Yes,
and I put her books on my wish list, because I don't know if you know this or not, because not a lot of people know this. I am a closet cozy mystery lover if they have an animal in it somewhere. Imagine that.
Really?
But I read copious amounts of cozy mystery books. Absolutely.
Well,
sometimes
you will love
if I'm laying in bed and if I can't sleep, I'll sometimes read like 2 or 3 of those little 300-page books in a night. Oh yeah.
You'll love her. She's fantastic.
Because they're Southern, right? Yeah, they're Southern ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know that I always say this at the end of the show. If you want to be successful, stop asking permission. Just go out there and do it. And don't just feel special. Be special. Make your dreams real. They're your dreams. Your smile is your logo. Your personality is your business card. And how you leave others feeling after having an experience with you, ladies and gentlemen, that does become your trademark. Trust me. I've been in this business for a long, long time, and how we treat others is our trademark. And I always want to leave others with the feeling that when I am no longer here, that the worst they can say about me is that I made a difference in their life. So until tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, and y'all be here, be square, When we interview Miss Nancy Quinn, I want to thank Frank Bittinger for once again making my night. He is such a hoot. I absolutely adore this. Go get his books because he is pretty. One night I'm going to start the show with one night I'm going to start the show with a song "I'm So Pretty." So until tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen, at 8 o'clock, this is Yvonne Mason with my guest, Frank Bittinger, and we're off the chain, and we say good night. So what I will do, we are now off the air. I will do like I always do and put this show up after it goes into archives and tag you in it so you can share it with all of your friends. And
fantastic. Once I figure out how to do it, embed it into a blog post, I will do that too.
All you do is if you go to the show and there's an embed, it's got a little funky looking thing, and you embed the code into your blog post, or you can just embed the link.
No. Oh, okay. I can make it a clickable. Hey, yeah. I never thought about that. Yeah. That's good. And
then I'll also put up all of the podcasts that I throw this thing up on. We're heard in over 65 countries now.
Because I know there's a lot of people who listen to them when I'm on them, but they don't listen to them like when I'm on them. They do it like after you post it.
And that's the beauty of the archives, and it's the beauty of the podcast because we're well over 20,000 listeners in over 65 countries.
That's what we need. I need so I can move to Wales and Scotland, and all will be well.
All of the above.
Interviews.
And your dream could happen.
Oh, I hope so. But as soon as I know anything about one of the new books, I got four literally. There's a race between them to see who gets done first, and that's the one I'll put out. So whenever I know something, I will ship it to you, and then we can figure something out, my dear.
All right, darling. Until then, love you bunches,
Thank you
and
so
I am
much.
so glad you came.
I'm
so glad you remembered.
Oh, my God. Well, it's been shit after shit after shit the last couple of weeks that we were talking about, and I'm just so glad you sent that reminder because I've never hurt anybody's feelings, and the only time I'm not going to do, when I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, unless, of course, it legitimately slips my mind, and then I will apologize profusely.
And you'll be forgiven profusely because you're frank.
Because people tell me that all the time. Well, you can get away with it, but I don't do it intentionally to get away with it.
No,
I'd rather just do it.
There's not a malicious bone in your body.
Oh, hell no. No, not at all, because I don't have time for that. I don't have an inclination for that.
So, my darling, go kiss all. I love you too, darling. Go kiss all the babies for me, and we will talk soon.
I will.
All right, honey.
I'll talk with you soon, honey. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right. Bye-bye.
Hi, you've reached the High Fashion Hotline.
Hi, sweetie.
Dad? I told you not to call me at work.
But I need some style advice.
Just go to Old Navy.
Old Navy?
Yep, all men's styles are on sale now, up to 50% off, with shorts from $12 active from $8 and tees from $5 at Old Navy and OldNavy.com.
$5?
Plus, the whole store is up to 50% off, so you can get amazing styles for everyone, even me.
Going to Old Navy now.
Oh, and make sure you get something for Father's Day, my treat.
Thanks.
High Fashion, Old Navy. Valid 6/12 to 6/20. Excludes clearance, gift cards, register lane items, jewelry today and 2-day only deals. Hi, you've reached the High Fashion Hotline.
Hi, sweetie.
Dad? I told you not to call me at work.
But I need some style advice.
Just go to Old Navy.
Old Navy?
Yep, all men's styles are on sale now, up to 50% off, with shorts from $12 active from $8 and tees from $5 at Old Navy and OldNavy.com.
$5?
Plus, the whole store is up to 50% off, so you can get amazing styles for everyone, even me.
Going to Old Navy now.
Oh, and make sure you get something for Father's Day, my treat.
Thanks.
High Fashion, Old Navy. Valid 6/12 to 6/20. Excludes clearance, gift cards, register lane items, jewelry today and 2-day only deals.